We've seen all kinds of ideas go into Smash Bros. Movesets, designs meant to capture the feel of a character, whether directly or in spirit, references to their source material, even creating entirely new mechanics specifically for one fighter. But with us nearly 25 years in now, some of the series' oldest movesets are starting to show their age, including one in particular. Donkey Kong was added to Smash 64 to be the game's token big heavyweight, and his moveset was built around that. But fast forward to now when we have several other heavies around, and the Big 8 feels increasingly dated with a moveset that hasn't changed since Melee. But what if we could create a blueprint for how the next Smash game could retool DK's moveset for the better? With the right changes and new additions, we can overhaul his design to help him feel truer to himself and make him less underpowered at the same time. So without further ado, let's remake it! Okay, first things first. Does DK's appearance in Smash need an overhaul? Well, not really, but a few touch-ups couldn't hurt. His basic design's been pretty consistent since Donkey Kong Country, so it's been more about updating his visuals over time with the greater processing power afforded by each new game. But what about his alternate costumes? Actually, these are pretty good too. Wide range of colors, and all of them are either an intentional reference or have ties to his games, or real-life gorillas in the case of the Black Alt. DK may need updating elsewhere, but visuals are not one of the problems. That said, I wouldn't mind if the devs tweaked his orange alt to lock in a nod to Lanky Kong, or give the white alt a blue tie to look like Super Kong from Returns. Now for the contentious part. Do we update DK's voice? He's had a particular vocal style since the GameCube era, but Smash has always gone with more generic animal noises. He's not the only character whose voice work feels dated, but unlike, say, Bowser, I've seen mixed opinions from fans on whether they want DK's voice changed. Ultimately, I think it would be best to update his voice lines carefully. I know some people are worried a cartoonier voice wouldn't fit him, but the noises he makes now also aren't very in character. He's not some dumb animal. He's intelligent enough to operate a TV and radio, drive a go-kart, and understand the rules of all the sports spin-offs he's been in. So I think it's a matter of choosing lines carefully from Tropical Freeze or other recent/upcoming DK games so he feels like himself without getting too over the top. Could maybe even record some new lines inspired by the older games. He does have some iconic clips from Donkey Kong Country and DK64. Next we got attributes, stats, all that good stuff. Does DK's fighting style need to change much? Not really. He's one of the archetypical platform fighter grapplers, and it's completely in character with how often he lifts and throws heavy objects in his games. He may not have a big scary command grab, or multiple scary command grabs, but his standard throws are so effective that his regular grab is an option that opponents have to respect and play around. Platform fighter archetypes are different from traditional fighting games sometimes. But the big guy's got more than grappling to work with, and we can better emphasize that. DK has a legitimately good mix of power, range, and sorta speed that let him play spacing games and open opponents up better for his big scary stuff. We can bolster this with the right buffs and quality of life adjustments to give him a legitimate footsies game on top of the usual grappler stuff. Helps diverge him better from Bowser's more punish-based playstyle. As far as stats go, a lot of them can stay as they are. DK doesn't need a total overhaul here, just smart changes in the right places. His walk speed, air speed, and fall speed are left intact, and when he already has the 10th fastest walk and is tied for 13th fastest airspeed, that's totally fine. He's also as big and powerful as ever, and with kinda limited combo routes. His advantage state's still built around conditioning and making big plays by reading his opponents, and he's still prone to getting comboed really hard when he takes a hit. However, some key changes can better highlight DK's strengths and tone down certain weaknesses that are more crippling than they need to be. Small buffs to his run speed, now 25th fastest, and initial dash, now 14th best, give him snappier movement and a bigger immediate threat range. Increased gravity, a stat that determines how fast a fighter reaches their max velocity when jumping or falling, should also give him that weightiness and primal power that makes him feel so good to control in his games. But that pales in comparison to his recovery. As is, it's famously linear and with so little vertical gain that getting disrupted off stage, or worse, spiked, can be a death sentence sooner than it should be for a heavy. But thanks to a total revamp of his specials, DK's recovery is an Achilles heel no more. It still has flaws, but he can get back safely more often now. You'll see how in a bit. But I did have to keep those buffs in check somehow, and I might or might not have committed sacrilege by taking 2 points off DK's weight to make him slightly lighter than DDD. Don't worry, he's still the 4th heaviest in the game, but he might lose stocks a few percent earlier now than before. I promise the other stuff he got makes this little weight reduction worth it. Alright, now for the fun part. How do we change DK's moveset for the better? Starting with his most basic attacks, the answer is less overhaul and more build on what's there. His jab combo starts with a left hook like before, but now the second hit is changed from an uppercut to a right hook to keep his foes in place, and he finishes with that kick that used to be his dash attack before Smash 4. His jab was already decent for a heavy, but this new third hit deals more total damage and enough knockback to kill at the ledge from 140% onward. DK's forward tilt is the same as before animation-wise, but we can help it do its job better. This move as is has a little too much end lag that makes it so punishable it's rarely worth using as a poke. Trimming off 4 to 6 frames of end lag would make it more worth using and give his footsies a much appreciated boost. His up tilt plays off the same idea. The base animation is fine, but it's a little too laggy to do its job better. Lop a few frames off the end, and we have a legit anti-air. The loss of end lag could also turn it into a combo move at low percents, while remaining a backup kill move at high percents. Hope that's not too much. We can keep DK's down tilt as is. It's a fast, low attack with a chance to make people trip, setting up easy follow-ups or big tech chases. By the way, did you know all these moves apparently have official names in Japanese? I borrowed some, altered others to sound better, and came up with a few new names entirely. Anyway, DK's dash attack is also staying because, duh, it already took until Smash 4 to get his main attack from DKC into his moveset. Why would I throw that out? In fact, we can add a little something to it. Using it now gives DK a small burst of speed that lets him cover extra distance. This is how his roll usually works in his games, and it makes the move even better as a burst punish / eventual kill option. On to DK's smash attacks, where we're sticking to the tweak but not replace plan. The forward smash he's had since Melee can stay, and we can add something to this too. A smaller version of the shockwave that appears when he claps in Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. We could even put a new sour spot hitbox on the shockwave if that's not a step too far. For DK's up smash, take the same concept and turn it 90 degrees. If we were to go with the put a sour spot on the Jungle Beat shockwave thing, I could see it being bigger on this one, so it calls out aerial movement better. Then for DK's down smash, wait a minute, what the hell? Yep, his old down special is now his down smash. DK slams his palms onto the ground with enough force to create 2 damaging shockwaves in quick succession. That also hit a little above ground level now, so they're not useless against late jumps. With knockback cranked up to fit the new roll, but slightly less range, this thing's a legit kill move now. Imagine getting tripped by his down tilt and having to hope he doesn't read your getup with this thing. He can't keep slapping the ground indefinitely anymore, but if you charge this move at least halfway, he slaps the ground 4 times instead of 2. Now for DK's aerials, where another big change is lying in wait. Because his neutral air ditches the old clothesline move for a new one where he quickly curls up and performs a stationary roll in midair. While it doesn't reach as far as his old nair and isn't as strong on a clean hit, it's much faster. And since it covers him almost completely, it gives the big ape a workable out of shield option and protects him better from juggle attempts. Even has a long-lasting, albeit smaller, late hit. This one change already makes DK's disadvantage state less terrible. He's still vulnerable when trying to land or when stuck in shield, but now he's not so utterly helpless. The rest of the aerials are doing the same base animation but with helpful updates thing. DK's forward air is too iconic not to keep, and I'm pretty sure it's directly based on a thing he had in DK64 anyway. But we can make it less situational. Slightly bigger hitboxes and reduced landing lag make it less wildly unsafe to throw out, giving it niche use in neutral situations, not unlike Cloud's forward air. DK's back air, we don't need to mess with. It's been one of the best in all of Smash for 3 games and counting, and it's already a key part of his game plan with its ability to space, combo, edge guard, kill late, wash your car, do your taxes. Anyway, DK's up air is another carryover with a potential tune-up. The hitbox on the headbutt is smaller than you'd think and could be made bigger or stronger. For comparison, Bowser's up air is about the same size but hits harder, while Charizard's has a huge hitbox but is much slower to come out. DK's down air could also use a touch-up. Trimming off a frame or 2 of startup on the stomp would make it more of a threat and more worth going for, especially since hand slap isn't a special anymore and he'll still want a good spike that hits below him. Alright, now for the part that matters most for a grappler. DK's grab animations are the same as before, reaching out with one of his long gorilla arms, but we can change his pummel to be more on brand. Instead of his current awkward chop, we can have him make a fist with his free hand and bonk his opponent with it. Could even give him a cheeky grin during the animation since he knows he's just messing with him. DK's throws are... Wait a minute, the hell is going on here? Instead of his cargo throw, DK's new forward throw imitates his throwing animation from Donkey Kong Country. With solid base knockback and a low angle, it's great for taking stage control and setting up edge guards. His back throw is the same as before, complete with becoming a kill throw eventually. Then for his up throw, aha! You didn't think I'd actually get rid of it, did you? DK's signature pseudo command grab got moved to a spot that matches its animation better. Works the same as always, letting the big guy reposition himself before throwing his captive in one of 4 directions. Forward to kill off the side, back to kill off the top, up to set up his famous ding-dong combo, which still won't work at kill percents unless Smash 6 starts allowing more kill confirms off grabs again, and down forces low recoveries. You can also throw people at the underside of the stage and hope lag makes them miss the tech if you want to be that guy on quick play. And his down throw is still around. We could give DK extra hang time after he bounces his opponent off the ground that leaves him in the air after the animation is done. Alter the knockback angle to put them right by him at low percents, and he could follow it up with a nair or falling up air for a non-cargo throw combo. Okay, let's wrap this up with a few taunts. DK's current set is perfectly fine, but the right voice clips could make them even better. The one where he beats his chest could throw in a redone version of the he does in Donkey Kong Country. His side taunt could end the shake-off with a confident grin and a redone version of his yeah from DK64, and his down taunt could be even funnier if his VA hammed it up as much as possible to emphasize his utter confusion over whatever the hell just happened. Still here? Good. This is the part where we shake things up. DK's specials are where we can really modernize his design. His neutral special is actually the least changed, but that doesn't mean there isn't something new going on. This reskinned giant punch is only tangentially related to the move from Tropical Freeze, but we have ways of making the name work. On use, DK winds his arm up like usual, but there are some key differences now. Instead of a gradual damage scale, there are 4 distinct stages: uncharged, 2 levels of partial charge, and fully charged, indicated by how quickly and forcefully he's winding his arm and how much steam is emitting from his head. Charging it still makes it stronger, but now a level 2 charge or greater adds a cartoony explosive silhouette on the punch of increasing size in a similar art style to the move from Tropical Freeze. See? Making its effective hitbox bigger and less impractical to land. He gets partial armor on the punch at level 3 now instead of a full charge, and while the full charge has slightly more startup now as DK rears back more dramatically, the armor comes in sooner than before, and the explosive effect is big enough at this point to make the attack much bigger while maintaining its strength. This retool makes Kong Pao even better as DK's signature big scary attack. Instead of being restricted to callouts, now opponents have to play around it if it's prepped. Daring opponents to stop you from charging it is a form of passive pressure that fits DK's easygoing personality to a T. But it does have downsides, like taking longer to fully charge now than before, having the charge only saved at the start of each stage instead of at any time, and a level 3 or 4 punch has greater end lag. Next is DK's side special. How about something like... Wait, what the... Yep, we're moving this one over to a side special now. Well, it works more or less like it does in Ultimate, the obligatory multi-hit grappler lariat move that doubles his recovery and might or might not be inspired by Dixie's helicopter spin. We can add an extra forward push to the grounded version that makes it a better burst option. Moving Spinning Kong over to the side special lets it still work as a multi-hit armored punish with utility as a horizontal recovery move a la Tatsu, while freeing up DK's main recovery move to be something else. Still has its old weaknesses, easily punished if it misses, doesn't gain much height and is vulnerable from above when off stage, etc. But since it's not his only source of recovery anymore, that's less of a problem. This does mean DK doesn't have his headbutt anymore, so he does miss out on a way to break shields, is what I would say, but a fully charged Kong Pao can still do that. So if Spinning Kong isn't his up special anymore, what is? Well, DKC fans, I have good news for you, because we're finally using something more overtly inspired by his games. Barrel cannons have been part of Donkey Kong Country since the beginning as a means of long-distance travel. We've even seen them in some of his stages in Smash, and one served as an item in Melee. And it's that design we'll be using here. On use, a Kong-sized barrel with one opening and an arrow painted on appears around DK, pointed diagonally up and forward in whichever direction he was facing, and he sticks his head out with a determined expression and grips the rim with his hands. For the next second, you can adjust the barrel's angle up and down to lock in the exact flight path you want. Once time's up, or if you press A or B early, the barrel launches DK like a cannonball in the direction it's pointing. Going nearly as far as pitch recovery if not interrupted, this drastically improves the big guy's ability to get back to the stage. It even has a strong hitbox on the barrel as it launches, destroying the barrel in the process, and a hitbox of decent strength on DK himself mid-flight as he's curled up in a ball. A precision recovery with a wide range of angles, Barrel Cannon almost completely removes one of DK's biggest weak points. His disadvantaged state may be lacking, but at least his recovery isn't extremely vulnerable anymore. I did say almost, though, because this move still has some drawbacks. Over half a second of startup means it can get interrupted before the launch if anyone's too close. The cannon's angle can only be adjusted about 60 degrees in either direction, so don't accidentally start it in the wrong direction or you'll be in trouble. And while DK has a hitbox mid-launch, it becomes smaller and weaker halfway through, so recovering from deep off stage is still a risk, and he does go into freefall afterward. And if you thought that was wild, you ain't seen nothing yet. Hand slap isn't DK's down special anymore, so what is? Well, what better than the other thing he's so famous for? Throwing barrels has been a Kong thing ever since his Gramps did it in the arcade game, and this Donkey Kong is just as known for it. On use, DK stops in place and holds one arm up above his head, and a barrel with a DKC-style design, not the same as the generic item, poofs into existence a full hop height above. The barrel drops down after a small amount of hang time, and DK catches it in his hand effortlessly and prepares to throw it. Press B again, or any forward or downward direction on the stick, and he flings the barrel forward like it's nothing, traveling quickly and rolling along the ground once it lands. Or if you press an upward angle, he lobs the barrel instead, covering the air immediately ahead of him. Once it reaches the ground or a platform, it also rolls, but not as quickly. Oh, and did I mention the barrels are particularly strong once thrown, and have enough health to tank one hit from weaker attacks or projectiles without breaking? Barrel Drop gives DK an unorthodox projectile that opponents, even zoners, must respect and play around, though it's kept in check by the sheer length of both parts of its animation. It takes nearly a second and a half to go from calling the barrel down to throwing it, and DK cannot move until the barrel is thrown. The barrel does have a hitbox shortly after it spawns in, but it's not very strong. Can sometimes work as a platform trap, but DK has better alternatives. If there's a platform between the spawn point and DK's hand, the barrel can get stuck and cut the move short with extra end lag. And if used in the air, DK stops in place as the barrel spawns in until he catches it, at which point he starts to fall normally. Alright, what about his final smash? His current one's kinda generic even if you realize it's inspired by Jungle Beat, but truth is, this one doesn't need a total replacement either. All it needs is a touch-up courtesy of Returns and Tropical Freeze. Strengthened even further by the Smash Ball, DK winds up and throws a powerful punch that pulls him forward a dash length. If he hits someone, specifically the first opponent who gets caught, the screen darkens and spotlights fall upon them. DK grins and makes a double fist, then lets loose with a brutal string of punches faster than the eye can see. And if you mash the A and B buttons, he punches even faster for greater damage. Then he pauses, winds up again, and delivers an uppercut so strong it could send his opponent clear across the horizon. And if the poor soul is at 100% or higher before the final punch, he literally sends them flying into the background for an instant star KO. He's just that strong. There we are, a revamped take on Donkey Kong's moveset that fine-tunes the parts of his kit that already work while refreshing his specials. He's still a super heavy grappler with a ton of power who's vulnerable when in a disadvantaged state, but now his strengths are more well-rounded and his weak points less debilitating, all while helping him feel less like a generic fighting game heavy and more like himself. And that's despite the stuff I considered using but ultimately left out, like his coconut gun from DK64, which would have been a neat reference but didn't gel with his playstyle well enough to keep. Sometimes it works better not to go for a reference if it makes the overall design less cohesive. So, how does he look? What do the DK mains in the crowd, or the massive amount of people who pull him out for fun sometimes, think about this one? And if you were entertained enough, catch a ride from Funky over to my channel page for other videos like this. I do a lot of Smash Brothers and speculative stuff in similar styles, so check it out and maybe subscribe if you're into that so the algorithms care about me more. Anyway, special thanks to the following people for helping make this video happen. Thanks as well to my patrons for your continued support, and for voting in the recent Challenger poll. Octoling's episode will be coming soon. So, until next time, where is that last stupid puzzle piece?